Welcome to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devan Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Boot Camp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
All right, Burn Nation, welcome back to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. You have Trisha and I here as always, and we are ready to dive into fitness, nutrition, psychology, all the things that really, it's really the triangle of the effectiveness of transforming your body. And today is all about protein, okay? Protein really does matter, Trisha, doesn't it?
It does matter, Devan.
It does matter in a big, big way. And so we're going to focus on not only just nutrition, but we're going to go deep, deep into protein, why protein matters for muscle growth, how much protein is actually enough protein, what are the best protein sources, the timing, and definitely recovery is a big part of this as well. And so this is episode 506. Welcome, everybody. We are on YouTube. We are on Apple. We are on Spotify. We love when you subscribe to YouTube so that you do not miss an episode. I'm going to follow this up with episode 507 called Ask Devan Anything, where I go into a member question. And the member question is going to be, how much protein do you actually really need? I'm going to cover that kind of high level here on this with Trisha. But then I'm going to go deep on episode 507 to answer that question specifically for you so that you have all the answers. And so we're going to start today, Trish, first of all, with just how are your gains going? Like, you know, you're in the gym. For everybody that doesn't know, if you're new to the podcast, all right, I'm the visionary of Burn Boot Camp, and Trisha is our VP of marketing. And we are both campers, hardcore campers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we just finished PR week, and I mean, I'm like all into how my body is feeling. It's really cool, and we'll talk about it with when you put all the pieces together, what can actually happen in the gym and how it can really just fuel you and make you literally more confident because you're doing things you've never done before. You're challenging yourself in ways that you never thought you could challenge yourself. It's just a great feeling, Devan.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk about protein and how it really impacts that great feeling. Because here's one thing that I know to be true, people, that you don't know how great or how strong you can feel unless you've gotten the right amount of protein in, all right, and overall the right amount, the right nutrients, yeah. But the kind of marquee nutrient, the gold standard of all macros is protein. And so we're going to really go into that. And I wanted to bring this back to what we do in the gym every day. And so we're first going to answer the question, why does protein matter for muscle growth, okay? So let's just start with what we do in the gym every day. It's this H word. It's a big word. We say strength and conditioning. Really, hypertrophy is the kind of the science behind strength. And that's muscle fibers increasing in size. That's basically what that is. And they actually fuse together. That's what happens when you get the right amount of protein in. And so, you know, a lot of people, have you ever heard anybody say that, you know, or maybe not say, but assume that eating protein, like dietary protein is actually like helps you, like is the mechanism to gaining muscle? I've heard that before. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that because I've heard people scared to eat protein because they think they're going to get bulky. And like, that's not the case, people.
Yeah, it's not the case. But what is the case is that hypertrophy is only triggered through what's called, it's a fancy term, mechanical tension. And I want to use the fancy terms, but I also want to use like the practical terms. Mechanical tension just basically means that the amount of time that your muscle is under stress. So, you know, a lot of times we think that strength training is just like picking up heavy stuff and then putting it back down. Well, mechanical tension can be that, but it's also time under tension, or TUT. And time under tension is like slower and more controlled. So give me an example, Trisha, of like an exercise that you might do that you feel when it's more like you feel more sore, you feel more of that hypertrophy effect or like when I say hypertrophy effect, I mean like swole. You know, people say like I feel swole or my muscles are all infused with blood. That's the hypertrophy effect. What's an exercise that you might do slower and more controlled that you actually feel more?
Bicep curls.
Okay.
Like
Explain.
whenever we do upper body strength, I always, I like to challenge myself on upper body strength. To be honest, it was not my favorite for a very long time. I was one of those people for a very long time that thought I was going to get bulky and big. No. But now I do enjoy it, and I always feel that pump right afterwards. Like I always walk down, because we work out upstairs from our HQ offices, and I always feel like I walk in and I'm like, I got the pump on. You can just feel your muscles filled with blood. Mm-hmm. So that would be what I would say.
Yeah, and so what you're really doing there, what we're doing is it's micro tearing our muscle fiber. This slow, like whether you're the classic perspective of strength training, which is like picking heavy stuff up and putting it down, or you're slower and more controlled, time under tension, maybe resistance bands, maybe isolation holds creates time under tension where you're squatting and holding rather than jump squatting as fast as you can. And oftentimes, we'll put weight on we'll load up and we'll just go slow in a tempo. We'll go 3 seconds down, maybe a 1 second hold at the bottom and a 1 second explode up. All of these are versions of mechanical tension. And what we're trying to do is reach hypertrophy, because that's really what's going to, that's what we're all after, right? And so what happens is these controlled movements create micro tears. This is good stress. And then when we actually eat protein, this is when it starts the repair process for these micro tears. I'm going to talk about something in a second called, and this just is like, for my exercise science nerds out there, or nutritional science nerds, it's like, they're called satellite cells, and it's part of the conversation around like amino acids. You've heard amino acids before? Like, what is amino acid? Do you think most people are confused on what amino acids actually are?
Yeah, I think because it's its own supplement too that people take, but you don't actually need to take it.
Yeah, the branched chain amino acids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll take branched chain amino acids because you have incomplete protein. So a complete protein has all the amino acids. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about protein sources. One of the criteria for protein sources amongst the 3 criteria is that it's complete. Okay, but what we want to talk about now is I want to continue down this pathway. So we have hypertrophy that creates this mechanical tension. This is really what happens when you are micro tearing your muscle fibers. You're damaging your muscle cells, right? So you're actually not building muscle in the gym. You're actually damaging and breaking them down in the gym. Now, it sounds bad, or maybe negative, but that's actually really good stress. That's what we're trying to incorporate, is really good stress on the muscle and not on the joint. Okay, then we intake protein. I'm going to use, for now, the number one source of protein from a bioavailability standpoint, which is whey protein. It's fast acting. The amino acids are in your bloodstream within 90 minutes. And there's other whole food options too that we're going to talk about in a little while. But for the example that why protein matters for muscle growth, and as we go through the pathology of protein intake into your digestive system, into amino acids, into shipping it into the muscle cells, into the kind of key amino acid leucine. Leucine is the magic amino acid. That's the one that's going to unlock all the growth inside of the muscle cell. And then how muscle protein synthesis starts, and then how to repair those micro tears, and then muscle growth over time. That's really the what we're going to talk about. Stop me anytime if you have questions, okay? Do not feel afraid to interrupt me on this one, Trisha. And if you guys have questions, comment below, because what we're going to do is try to go through this relatively quickly, because I want to be concise, but not so concise that it's short form. This is why we're here on long form, to actually break things down for you. And so protein intake, whey, okay? A complete amino acid profile will have the star of that show is leucine, like I said. And, depending on your size as a human being, 20 to 40 grams of protein you can really handle. Muscle protein synthesis is only one part of the overall spectrum of what dietary protein is for. And it's the main one. You get 20 or 30 grams, most humans, to activate muscle protein synthesis. And then from there, there's these things called enzymes that are proteins, right? And that's enzymes are the biochemical regulators, making sure everything is functioning well chemically in the body. And then you have hormones like growth hormone. And protein matters for all these things. We'll go into that deeper later. But when you intake the protein, it goes into the digestive system, into your stomach acid. It's broken down into your stomach, and it's broken down by stomach acid and pepsin, I believe, is the enzyme. And you've heard the word peptides. I'm not trying to be nerdy, but I'm trying to say all these injectable peptides that we use, the organic version of those, it's just coming from your protein intake. So if you have high protein intake, you don't need to inject peptides into your body, because the first stop when your protein is getting broken down into amino acids, I'll get there, it stops at peptides. And then skipping over like the nerdy stuff, it goes into the small intestine, and then it's even broken down into smaller molecules. And then the pancreas releases tryptin, and tryptin breaks down your those molecules into their smallest parts, the amino acids. Okay, from there, amino acids are like delivery trucks on the highway, and your bloodstream or your capillaries are like the highway itself. Okay, so the amino acids, the trucks drive on the highway. All right, and these delivery trucks stop at the warehouse. The warehouse is your muscle cell, okay? And then when you get to the muscle cell, that leucine, like that's the special truck. Every now and then the leucine shows up, right? And that special truck is what the warehouse manager inside the muscle cell really wants to see, okay? The warehouse manager, I'm not gonna go into this, is called mTOR. This is really important. This is why leucine is important, because when you ship leucine into the muscle cell, it's the only amino acid that has that special delivery truck that muscle cell warehouse manager is waiting for. It's like the key to unlock muscle protein synthesis or repair. All right, I'm going to stop there.
I was going to say, so if you're not already like invested in what he's saying, like to break it down, because I feel like we need to get the GIF and put the glasses on him, because he really got all sciencey on us.
Just for a minute, yeah.
But I think it's good, because that then proves, if you are in the gym right now and you are showing up every day and you're going to the strength training, you're going to our conditioning days, if you're looking for better performance, the best way to do that is to fuel your body right. Obviously, the science is backing it for what's actually happening in your body, to fuel your body, to then make sure you're ready for the next day to show up and get those gains that everyone's talking about. You have to do both together in order to continue to increase and to progress. So if you're someone like me who's really just like, okay, I know, I hear all the words, I know it all makes sense, but at the end of the day, what you really need to know is the science is what's backing it up to what is going to get you further in the gym and to progress you to your goals.
The one term I do want everyone to know is MPS, muscle protein synthesis. And that's really what we're trying to kickstart when we are eating good quality protein sources, which we'll get to in a while, and we'll talk about type and timing. I call it the 4 T's: the type, the timing, the technique, etc. And repairing those micro tears, okay? So if you want to think about that leucine protein, right, which is why it's so important to have complete protein. And there are plant sources that, whether you're an animal person or a plant person, whether it's, philosophical for you or not, like, to me, I'm not going to go there. It doesn't really matter, because there are plant sources and there are animal sources of complete protein, and I'm going to tell you guys all of them here in a moment. But what's really important is that we get enough protein in our diet, okay? There's a video we're going to play. Dr. Galpin talks about it in a minute, and I think he has a great just take on, just timing and things, or not timing necessarily, but why it's important to stay high when it comes to type and timing and technique, and why all those things matter way less, and you don't have to get so confused, or it doesn't have to be so complex if you just stay high in protein. So the amino acids go in, and to kind of continue this like silly metaphor, the amino acids go into the muscle cell. It's really unlocked. That mTOR pathway is unlocked by leucine, but the rest of the amino acids flood in and act like construction workers of the warehouse. And so leucine's going to say, hey, we need to rebuild this warehouse back stronger because it just got hit yesterday by a hurricane during our workout. So we need to build this thing back stronger. Leucine triggers that. All the amino acids go in, the complete profile, which is why it's so important. You need all the construction workers. You need the different types of tools to be able to build the warehouse back together. And again, the warehouse is the muscle cell, so we're damaging our muscle cells. And then the amino acids combined with these things, I'm not going to go here, but they're called satellite cells, and they're like helpers to the amino acid. They sit on the outside of the muscle cell, and the satellite cells and the amino acids kind of fill in the gaps. And the satellite cells provide what's called nuclei which basically just is like gasoline. It's like fuel. It's going to provide more fuel to make sure that warehouse is built back stronger and better than ever before, so that the next time a hurricane comes through, it's going to be more resilient, right? And the resiliency itself is the metaphor for like muscle growth over time, okay? So you're repairing your micro tears only when you have enough complete protein in. And when you talk, if you ever heard anybody talk about like maybe adaptation of your muscle, like they'll say, hey, add stress to your muscles because over time your muscles will adapt and get stronger. You ever heard that before? Okay, so what they're really saying from like, I'll go back to the scientific side of it just to authenticate a lot of this stuff, is what they're really saying is your muscle cells' ability to have more satellite cells is increasing the longer you work out, and the more mechanical tension or time under tension that you might have, the more you're going to adapt, okay? And the longer you train, the more satellite cells that you're actually going to have, all right? So that's why consistency is so important inside of the gym. You guys follow me so far? I'm trying to walk that line of like, and that's why Trisha's really here to like say, DK, you're being too confusing, you're not thorough enough. Am I walking that line appropriately for you?
Yeah, no, I think the story that you've told has really brought it to life. Can I ask a question?
Please, yes.
So what about the importance of protein if I didn't go to the gym? Because I think we're understanding, and you're really bringing to life, like what happens when I break down my muscles. Well, do I still need to have protein even if I didn't break down my muscles? And what does it do then?
Yeah, so there's like a baseline of protein that you have, and we call it 100 grams. We think that's a great baseline for every adult human to just have 100 grams of protein. But like, just to be kind of humorous and funny, that's almost like the protein that you need, like if you don't want to die.
Yeah.
Like in a sense, like you need that to actually function. From not only muscle protein synthesis isn't going to be much of a deal for you if you're not introducing stress or mechanical tension, but you go back to enzyme production, biomechanical performance. You go back to hormone regulation, hormone performance, and also immune system and recovery and things like that. And so you need protein for much, much more than just muscle protein synthesis. There's a video we're going to watch in a little while that way oversimplifies it, which is my problem with short form content on the internet. And it just talks about like, a very limited recommendation of protein just for gains. But like, are we really just worried about gains? Maybe some folks are, but here at Burn, what we want you to understand is that this is about health, energy, longevity, and muscle too. That's a byproduct. But to your point, you definitely need the baseline because protein is an essential function of the human body overall.
Cool. Thank you. I know I've heard people ask that question, so I think that cleared up for some people out there that might be wondering the same thing. Yeah,
so then muscle growth over time. Let's just kind of round this out with that. So, if you're a beginner and you're following the recommendations here, you're going to get a lot of gains real fast. Right? You're going to maybe 1 to 2 pounds of muscle gain per month is possible if you do the right things, right? And I'll go into how much protein, but generally speaking, if you have 20 to 40 grams, and you're spacing that out enough, far enough apart, about 3 hours apart, you're doing that within like a feeding window throughout a day. I think everybody should have a fasting window, which we all do, most of us, overnight fasting, right? Not fasting in the sense of like going to fast for 7 straight days, but just, hey, stopping, don't eat after a certain point of time. And then, when you get up, like, eat at a certain point in time, and don't wake up in the middle of the night 3 times and go to the cupboard and snack is really what I'm saying. So if you do that really well, you're going to be able to gain 1 to 2 pounds if you're a beginner a month. And then if you're advanced, and then you're going to be talking about like where you and I are at, it's like 3 to 5 pounds a year if you do it the right way. So I'll stop there for this one, why protein matters for muscle growth. And then we're going to go into these topics deeper as we navigate throughout the rest of the podcast. Anything that you wanted to add to this section?
No, I think you did a great job laying it out. And I hope that people listening just really are understanding the importance, especially if you're in the gym. Let me tell you, this is the thing that really changed the game for me, was getting my protein in check. So listen, and if you have questions, write them down and make sure you shoot them to Devan because he's the pro.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. And so we're going to also listen to another pro, because what I've done over the years is I've really learned and studied and been interested and curious and asked a lot of questions. And one of the biggest things that I notice in this world is that there's a lot of opinions. And we're going to play a couple videos today that actually not unintentionally showcase the difference of opinion when, it should be more simple. We believe that complexity is the enemy of execution. And so we want to be here on long form, leaning into experts, but also showcasing the difference and the contrast between what people say, and in just really trying to help you navigate that as a Burn Bootcamp member or somebody who is just a fan of the podcast. So this comes from the Huberman podcast, Chelsea?
Yep, with Dr. Andy Galpin.
Okay, let's. So what I loved about this clip was that there's like this simplicity to it. So go ahead and roll a clip, and we'll comment quickly.
And this could include nutrition and supplementation, or if you want to divide those answers out, feel free to do so, of course.
Yeah, okay, great. So a ton of work came out of Don Lehman's lab. It was actually Lane's mentor, as well as Stu Phillips at McMaster. So a ton of work there, and we can answer a number of things here. So Lane's numbers that he recommended, also known as about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It's a great start. Now, once you slide below
That's per
that,
pound, right?
1 gram per pound.
Right, and earlier,
Which is
just
also
to make sure, because we're
2.2.
changing units here, it was 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, all the way up to, I think it was 2.4, but maybe as high as 2.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight.
So 2.2 in that unit would be the same thing. So 2.2 grams per kilogram is the same as 1 gram per pound.
Right.
So depending on where you're listening to this at, one of those may be easier than the other for you. If you start getting below that number, now you do start running into questions of protein quality, protein type, and protein timing. And this is one of the reasons why I actually fully agree with Lane, is just get that number higher than you think, and then all those other variables don't matter. If that number is low, then you need to start paying attention to a bunch of other stuff. You've added now complexity to your program, things you got to pay attention to. Just stay high, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
You can just leave a lot.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear in that, is like the simplicity is just stay high in your protein. Yeah. And guys, even a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today becomes less relevant. I wouldn't say irrelevant, but less relevant, because you're going to have just that sufficient amount of protein. And what'd you hear Galpin say there?
No, I think what I love is that he kept it simple. So, for people that aren't trying to be professional bodybuilders, it's breaking it down to just really focus on your protein. We talk a lot about being intentional. Be intentional with the protein. Just take a week, map out your protein, see how you feel, and then the next week, if you're not as intentional, you're going to understand, you're going to feel the difference in your body. So just that alone is going to be what sells you in on it.
And so one of the ways that I get my protein high and keep my protein high is, and I'll explain this throughout the podcast here, but the main way that I get my protein high and keep my protein high is our afterburn supplements. So I will overnight fast every night, and then when I break my fast in the morning at some point in time, I will have 2 scoops of afterburn. Our new cookies and cream just dropped. There's only 60 of these on e-com, by the way. So if you love this one and you got it in the gym and you're like, man, I wish I should have got some more, you can hop over to e-com and you can our location stores, and you can grab this right now. There's only 60 cans that we designated for the internet. So otherwise you have to get it in gym. But I've been obsessed with this flavor. And when this flavor isn't here, I'm a chocolate fan, and I go 2 scoops, which is 46 grams. And I know that when I add a high quality fat, like 1 tablespoon of almond butter to it, it slows the digestion down, and I'm able to just synthesize that protein for a longer sustained period of time, which is less relevant in the morning when I do that, way more relevant when I do that right before bed. The last thing that I do before I go to sleep is 2 more scoops, again with a tablespoon of almond butter. And what that does is act like much like a casein type of protein, where it will just have a longer release schedule in your body, so that those amino acids stay higher throughout the night, so that you can actually repair and recover longer into the night. And just whey protein alone is going to spike the amino acids up in like 90 minutes and then tailor off a little faster. You add that good source of fat to it, it's going to last you a little bit longer through the night and be just that much better for you. So you can get this on e-com or get it in gym, but Afterburn Protein comes in not only this seasonal flavor, but chocolate and vanilla as well. And I'm team chocolate, that's for sure. And everybody knows that. Are you team chocolate or vanilla?
I like, to be honest, I like them all. I just recently got on a vanilla kick, and I am so into it. I put it in my kids' pancakes. We make pancakes every Sunday. They love them. And I will say, if you're one of those people that has a sweet tooth at the end of the night, a trick, if you just have a protein shake, specifically with the cookies and cream, because it is delicious, it's going to curb that sweet tooth, and you're going to get your protein in.
Yeah, for sure. If I do ever have like a sweet tooth, which is in the last like 2 months, I've really cleaned my diet up, and what I've noticed is I don't have a sweet tooth like I used to. It's pretty much gone. But like the psychology of like I used to have one for a very long time still comes forward, and if I ever get that, I haven't given in too much, but I'll do a protein shake and an Afterburn peanut butter bar together. 10 seconds in the microwave, call it a day. We're going to move on to how much protein is enough now, okay? That next topic, how much protein is enough? We talk about our range. Trisha, our minimum range is pretty obvious. We talk about it all the time in our 5 small wins, yeah?
Yeah, so you want to aim for, well, he said 100 grams, but that's like baseline. But you want to do at least 1 gram per body pound that you weigh, or your ideal weight. I think that's an important note that you've really driven home in the last couple of podcasts, because, you know, if you are on maybe a weight loss journey and you want to lose some pounds, you want to make sure you're getting your protein based off of your goal weight. So if you weigh, over 250 pounds, we don't want you having 250 pounds of protein.
Yeah, ideal
body
grams,
weight.
yeah, for sure. Ideal body weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, minimum 100, and then maximum, you're going to go, ideally, I want you at 1.0 per ideal pound of body weight, especially if you're that 6-day-a-week, 5-day-a-week athlete. You really need that amount of protein to replenish and to recover. And I go up to 1.2 grams because I want to gain muscle faster. And I also want to make sure I lean into Dr. Galpin's advice, which is just overestimate how much protein that you might need. And then all the other variables of type, especially for me, timing, that's the biggest one for me. To dial in my timing all the time is very hard. For example, last week, our leadership team is in all day, everyday meetings. And you can't just like all of a sudden get up and go in the kitchen and spend 20 minutes, getting ideal amount of protein in.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times right after my noon workout, I won't have that, I have a 1 o'clock meeting. I'm not going to be able to go, scarf down my food. So yeah, the timing thing for me is very hard, which is why I take mine up to 1.2 grams per body pound.
I would also say, I think, you might think throughout the day, oh yeah, I'm for sure getting enough protein. I guarantee you're not. You need to make sure that you are actually tracking it. And I'm a creature of habit. I eat like Monday through Friday, like the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I have mine now dialed in. But if you aren't tracking it and you're just assuming that you're getting enough, I really challenge you to write it down, put it into ChatGPT. It was something that Devan taught me. He took a picture of his food and like it spits it out for you. So just do that really easy just to see where you're actually at. And then also then making sure that you're getting the high quality protein that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, for all those members that have either heard me or one of our burn trainers say, hey, use Lose It or MyFitnessPal. I'm sorry to Lose It and MyFitnessPal. I have nothing against you guys, but ChatGPT's functionality is way more personalized. I literally have on my phone DK nutritionist, and I asked GPT to be my personalized PhD nutritionist, and it optimizes, and if I have any questions or anything like that, it literally optimizes for my specific goals. And my goals, are contextual to me and nobody else, right? And so it goes beyond just a food log, and it actually will help coach you, and if you ask it the right questions and the right prompts. So, okay, so how much protein is enough? Minimum 100 grams. Safe baseline for adults. You just need this to function as a human being. Maximum 1.2 grams if you're a 6-day-a-week hardcore athlete. 1 gram per ideal body pound is where I want you to strive to get to, okay? Now the next question, how does the body actually use protein? There's more ways than just building muscle or muscle protein synthesis, or what we call MPS. This is the process of repairing those muscle fibers that we broke down under mechanical tension or under hypertrophy strength training in the gym. For MPS, almost every human, I'm not going to say every human, but just a general baseline is you can use in muscle protein synthesis about 20 to 30 grams of protein every 3 hours. Think about it that way. So it does no good for you to get, 200 grams of protein or 100 grams of protein in like one setting. I've made that mistake many times, and what I notice the next day is when I wake up, I'll go into this pathway in a minute, but my protein can actually go through lipogenesis, which is turning your protein into fat. Okay, and that's what we don't want to do, is add extra body fat when we're trying to get the right amount of protein in. So muscle protein synthesis, 20 to 30 grams every 3 hours. I strongly believe that everyone should have an overnight fast, because your body needs time to not eat. We're not meant to eat every 3 hours all day, every day, get up and have a snack in the middle of the night. Like this, a lot of nutrition recommendations stems from the bodybuilding world, and that's, I have nothing, I once was a bodybuilder for a short period of time, but that is not ideal health.
Isn't it like The Rock? Isn't that what he does? Like he gets up and like just demolishes like 12 eggs in the middle of the night or something like that?
Yeah, and listen, that might be helpful for short-term muscle gain potentially. There's still, the jury's out on that one. But our body needs a break. Our body needs time to recover, and our body needs time to repair those muscle cells. We need time to suppress our insulin. We need time to suppress the hunger hormone ghrelin, and we need to allow that ghrelin to be regulated so that we're not constantly hungry all the time. The Rock is like the 0.0001% discipline, right? When most of us should not be following the Rock's advice. And I believe everyone should not eat for at least an 8-hour period, and the most effective way is to do that in an overnight fast. And think about it this way, like what's the first meal of the day in this beautiful country here in America? What's the first meal of the day called, Trisha?
Breakfast?
Break the fast. That's why it's called breakfast. So literally, like, fasting is built into our culture. If you go to the doctor to get blood work or have a surgery, they ask you to fast because they want your body to be chemically regulated. They want your hormones to be regulated. They want your insulin to be crazy high. And for whatever other reasons that the doctors, don't want you to, have irregular biochemistry. So, you guys follow me?
Yep.
Okay. 20 to 40 grams before bed can support what I think the Rock's trying to get at. Okay. And like I said earlier, if you add a good source of fat, not like, chicken wings. I'm not talking about eating chicken wings before you go to bed to have protein and fat. I'm talking about good whey protein or 4 whole eggs. That healthy fat is going to help you really slow down that digestion process. And that whey protein is going to go a lot further. There's a lot of new studies that show whey protein and casein protein aren't so different from one another. After all, we might get into that, Chelsea, in a different podcast. We were almost going to play that video today, but it got really nerdy. I was like, I don't want to be too nerdy. I want to make sure that people really understand what we're talking about. So that's source number one for protein is muscle protein synthesis, okay? We're going to play a video in a moment that's going to talk about all this stuff. Number two is the biomechanical function or the enzyme function. Enzymes are proteins. And then number three, insulin, growth hormone, hormones in general, okay? The effect of protein extends beyond just muscle building, beyond enzyme biochemical function, and really helps with not only hormones, but like immune function. And then finally, your protein that goes unused through, like by the body, which by the way, is very rare. The body is very efficient at using protein, right? Which is where the 1.2 and 1.0 per ideal body pound recommendations come in, because actual muscle protein synthesis, if you've noticed my 20 to 30 recommendation there, that's for muscle protein synthesis, not for overall. And I'll say 20 to 40 for like pre-bedtime and intake at one time. Why? Because muscle protein synthesis is only one piece of the overall pie chart and how your body uses protein, enzymes, hormones, and then even energy. So protein then can actually be broken down into glucose. There's this process, it's called gluconeogenesis. And it happens when your protein breaks down, or anything breaks down protein or fat, into glucose. And then lastly, which is very, very rare unless you way overeat on protein, okay? If you way overeat on protein, calories in, calories out, quality calories in, quality calories out is still the mecca of all nutritional advice, okay? And if you have too many calories and the body literally cannot process it, if you ate 10,000 calories worth of chicken breast and almond butter every day, your protein is gonna go through lipogenesis. That protein is gonna turn into fat, okay? So muscle protein synthesis, enzymes, hormones, immune function, then energy, protein to glucose, and then body fat, protein to body fat. That is how the body uses protein, and that's why we need to get enough protein.
Well, and I also think, it goes back to calories, right? So if you want to lose weight, you have to eat in a calorie deficit. We've talked about that before. And if you have too much protein, which means like if you're overeating the 1 pound per ideal body fat, you do the quick math, because there's 4 calories per gram of protein. That's going to, if you eat too many of those it's too many calories. So at the end of the day, that's what you're just overeating. So that's why it's really important to make sure that, yes, you're getting your protein in, but you don't want to overdo it, because then you're going to be in a calorie overage, and then that's how you gain the weight. So if the people out there weren't 100% tracking, it's just more about calories is then what's going to put the body fat on you.
Right, 100%, 100% surplus to deficit. If you want to be lean, if you want to be strong, okay, those two things can happen together. And all the advice that we're giving and all the experiences that we're sharing really is so that you can run fast, but also do pull-ups and chest press your body weight or more, things like that, okay? And so that is the goal here, right? It might be in contrast to what you've been conditioned societally to think, or in this world where there'll be bulking cycles and cutting cycles. From my perspective, a very unhealthy way to go about it. It's, again, stems from the bodybuilding culture. Bodybuilding is to optimize the most muscle possible. And most bodybuilders will tell you, like, this is not healthy to do this. Like, I'm doing this for a short period of time. So we want to optimize for being an athlete, which to us is being in that low range of body fat and that high range of strength to body weight ratio, okay? So let's go to this video. There's this guy named Jeff. I really like Jeff. Jeff's a great guy, and he sounds really articulate, and he gives a recommendation here, but this is going to just be my problem with short form, and I'll explain why we talk about this stuff on long form and where Jeff is right, but also where Jeff doesn't. He's not lying to you. He's not meaning to do that. Jeff is a pure soul. I really like his stuff, and he's wildly popular, but it's just when leaving out relevant information is an issue with me, which is why I enjoy being here with you on the podcast, doing a lot more long form stuff. Roll this video from Jeff.
much protein should you eat per day to maximize muscle growth? Well, the latest research, analyzing 49 studies, found that you really only need 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 175 pounds or 80 kilos, 130 grams of protein per day will max out your gains, and going beyond that has, quote, no further benefit on gains. Now, if you're in a caloric deficit for fat loss, or you want to be extra safe, going as high as 1 gram per pound may provide some extra anabolic insurance, but is probably overkill. And if you're overweight, you should use your goal weight instead of your current weight. How you space your protein out is less important, but eating 3 to 6 high protein meals is better than just 1 or 2 meals per day. Try to eat some protein within a 5-hour window around your workout, and amino acid supplements don't seem to work as long as you're eating enough protein. Protein sources shouldn't really matter as long as you hit your daily total, and you should count protein from all food sources. But since animal proteins are usually higher in leucine than vegan proteins, you might want to add a few extra grams of protein to vegan meals.
Yeah, so overall, really, really good advice. The meta-analysis that he's referencing, I believe, comes from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Morton is the author, and it's a systematic review of the protein requirements for athletes. And what I wanted to just zero in on is my point here when I say how much protein is enough protein, and maxing out muscle protein synthesis, or if you call it really quickly, he just said to max out gains. What he really means is to max out muscle protein synthesis, and you're not lying. I mean, that's what the study shows. I've read it. But also, I'm talking about the biochemical health. I'm talking about hormonal health, body composition. You talk about recovery or even satiation. There is this, when Dr. Galpin said, just overage, just eat more than you need to eat because, that will give you like insurance. That's what Jeff is talking about when he says anabolic insurance. And so overall, I think the consumer is largely uneducated, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but there's a reason why there's, hundreds of thousands of views on that video, is because people want the advice. They're hungry for it. And I think overall, it's just incomplete. I'm not going to call it bad or good advice. I would just call it incomplete advice. I'm sure if Jeff and I were talking here in long form, he's going to say the same exact thing. But it just requires so much more focus on all of the dietary choices around protein when, you're talking about vegan protein or enzyme or a little bit more here, a little bit more there, a 5-hour window or this one or that one, complete, incomplete, loose. Just eat enough.
Yeah.
Just eat enough. Get up to 1.0 per ideal, which Jeff also said, which I agree with thoroughly, ideal body pound, okay? So that it's not so complex. That's the only thing that you need to worry about. If my ideal body weight is 200 pounds, I need 200 grams of protein. What sources you get those from become irrelevant if you're over the maximum amount, 0.7 per pound of ideal body weight for maximum protein synthesis, according to Morton and the systematic review for protein requirements for athletes study. What do you think about that, Trisha?
No, I'm glad that you hit on just the simplicity of it, because I think for most people, and I came across a stat today, which I thought I'd have it pulled up, but strength training among women has jumped 558% over the last decade. So what that tells me is also people are learning and they need the education, and we don't need to overcomplicate all of it. You just need to get the basics down first. So just get the 100 grams of protein first, and then from there, increase it to your ideal body. Just take those small wins, take those baby steps to get you to your goals. And if you listen to videos like that, ask people that, like your trainer or Devan or someone that can help you understand and consume it, so you don't overcomplicate it for yourself and then get spun out of control.
Yeah, and Instagram is a tough place to get nutrition advice from. I highly recommend that you go to YouTube like we are here, or you are just on long form so that you really can hear the full spectrum of the advice, and that you're able to, that study is a lot more than just what he's suggesting there. It goes much deeper, and it's quite long, and I've read it a few times, and it just really sticks out to me that there are other purposes for protein outside of just gains. Protein is the kind of official macronutrient. It's the official nutrient of the human body, and it's protein and water. So we're going to switch to, we're going to do a quick segment today on 4 T's. Okay, we are going to get you out of here in a moment, but we're going to do a quick segment on 4 T's, which is really, it's really answering the question around like kind of, we'll talk about best protein sources within this a little bit, but I think it's important to understand that, like to put this into perspective, total grams, that's the first T, so total grams, type of grams, timing, and then technique. Those are the 4, in my opinion, that we, in order, and as you move down that list of the 4 T's becomes less and less important. Number 1, total. The total amount of protein really matters. We just talked about that, okay? You have to have enough amino acids for muscle protein synthesis. You have to have enough amino acids for biochemical function with the enzymes, and enough amino acids to create hormones, which are the chemical messengers for your body, so that you overall function at a very high level. This just isn't about, the beach muscles. It's about overall health. Number 2 is type. There are 3 criteria for type. Complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids. You have bioavailability. There's this thing called we're going to watch a video on this in just 1 second, a quick video. It's the PDCAAS. PDCAAS. It's the protein digestion corrected amino acid score, I believe. Yeah, that's right. And then there's one other score too, or one other test as well. And what that does is that really measures the absorption efficiency, or what we call the bioavailability. So that's criteria number 2 for the type. And then C is nutrient profile. Oftentimes we're talking about the vitamins. We're talking about the minerals that are in these different types of protein. For example, the reason I like red meat is because of all the creatine and iron and zinc that come with it. When we talk about fish, the reason we like fish is because of the omega-3 fatty acids that are a part of it, make it slow, almond butter, and make it, with your whey protein, to make it slowly digestible, okay? Now, number 3 is the timing, all right? I've talked a lot about timing today, but during that feeding window, we said everybody should have a feeding and a fasting window. At least everybody should overnight fast, where you give your body just a break so it can help recover. And when you are in your feeding window, it's best from a muscle gain perspective to spread that 20 to 40 grams of protein, depending on how much you weigh. Spread that out every 3 hours. All the science shows is ideal. And then if you really want to get into timing, which, by the way, it's the 3rd most important thing, which means it's not that important. Much more important to get your total protein inside that 24-hour window and don't overeat it. Mm-hmm. But if you do want to take it to that next level, post-training. Really get that post-training meal in there. High carbohydrate post-training, okay, with a glycemic index or a GI under 55 or moderate to low. I'm not worried about, specific foods, donuts or sweet potatoes. As long as it's 55 or under on the glycemic index, it's a carbohydrate that I'm going to go eat. Donuts don't qualify. Sweet potatoes do. Okay? That's what we mean. You don't need to know the difference between simple and complex carbohydrates and the digestibility rate and all this stuff. Go to the internet, look up glycemic index, or go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what is the glycemic index of a sweet potato? If the number says 55 or below, you're DK and Trisha approved, ultimately Burn Nutrition approved. And that is a good carbohydrate for you to couple with your protein. Very easy on that. Just a side note, it's a 1-to-1. Mm-hmm. It's a 1-to-1. If you want to, so 20 to 40 grams of protein, 20 to 40 grams of carbohydrates, that great post-training meal is going to allow you to spike the glucose, all right, which ultimately converts into glycogen, which replenishes the muscles, and it does it very quickly when the carbohydrates are simple, meaning they can convert fast, okay? All right, and then if you want to focus on timing, I've already talked about it. It's the timing before bed. It's the whey protein with the good fat, or the handful of eggs that are going to help you slow release protein overnight. And finally, technique. Like after strength training workouts, there's a technique, right? After conditioning workouts, there's a technique. After strength, high protein, already talked about it. high carbs, 1-to-1 ratio. When you get to conditioning, if you really want to get like lean and you really want to get strong, you manipulate your fats and your carbohydrates based on the modality that you're doing that day. So when I do a conditioning day, I'm going high protein, low carb, and then moderate to high fat. And then the last thing on technique is just sleeping. It has nothing to do with nutrition, but that's when your nutrition really goes to work, and all those amino acids and all this muscle protein synthesis and all that stuff really happens, not in the beta wave state where we're active and thinking throughout the day, or the, kind of when you're just chilling state, which is the alpha state, or the theta state when you're like about to fall asleep, which is like also a really good learning state as a caveat, but the delta state, which is when you're in deep sleep, that 1 to 2 hours a night, like maybe 25% of your sleep cycle, where you are just, you're in it, you're deep. You're not REM or rapid eye movement, you're deep sleep, or we call it slow wave sleep. I know Morgan likes to measure that with the Aura, and the Aura ring does a really good job there. So total, type, timing, technique, 80% of the emphasis should just be on number one, total. Are you getting your ideal body weight in grams, or at least 100 grams of protein a day, every single day? Are you doing that? So everything else almost becomes kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know about you guys listening, but I have a more of an appreciation for my body after Devan kind of went through like what actually happens when you're breaking down the protein. So I think a good way to think about it, because I know depending on who you're listening to on social media, they're going to tell you, you can eat the candy, that all counts as carbs, but like what's actually going to, the common sense, how is your body going to digest? Is it going to digest a donut better, or is it going to digest a sweet potato better? Like that's now kind of how I look at it, is more of fueling my body and appreciating my body and not putting it through torture from a digestion perspective, because digestion is really important for me because I have issues with digestion. So I'm always thinking about it, but just think about it from that perspective, fueling your body and appreciating what your body is doing for you.
I think Dr. Brad Schofield's super smart. I like listening to his stuff. And I think Dr. Galpin's super smart. I like listening to his stuff. But this is the problem in this whole world, is that I think a lot of experts want to have a narrative, and they want to stick to the narrative rather than being flexible and meeting people where they're at. And I love both of these guys. I think they're super smart. I listen to a lot of their advice. They've taught me a lot of things. But also, I'm very observant as a human and as a trainer and as an entrepreneur. I don't have the doctor in front of my name. I have the NASM certified nutrition coach, but I am a lifelong learner and actual practitioner on my own body, being somebody who constantly sees their muscle mass increasing and constantly sees their body fat going down, and then maintaining that a low body fat percentage while increasing my overall skeletal muscle mass. So there's a contrast when Dr. Galpin says it doesn't, it kind of doesn't matter at all. Like timing doesn't really matter at all outside of carbohydrates post-workout. And then Dr. Schofield says timing does really matter. So roll this clip, and I just want you guys to pick up on the contrast here to recognize sometimes why you can't just take things at face value, and hopefully why you continue to stay here, because I'm going to really synthesize and hopefully try to simplify this for you so it's not so difficult. Also, while not bypassing science and education.
Yeah. Well, let's start there. Is there anything happening at right after you work out that you have to get a shake, or a specific type of shake?
Now be careful, because you're going to break some hearts right now. So do this softly.
Well, actually, the answer is somewhat it depends. There is not a clear window. Certainly, it is not like your gains just fall off after 45 minutes or an hour, but certainly muscles are more sensitized post-exercise to protein intake. Now, that sensitivity has been shown to last at least 24 hours. Does that mean you could just wait 24 hours to take in your protein? Probably not. And as a matter of fact, most of the research shows not. But the research really does not also show that taking it in immediately after benefits you more than waiting an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then it starts to get fuzzy. So really what we've come up with, the working hypothesis, is that it depends on when your pre-workout meal, the extent of when you really need to take in post-exercise protein depends upon when you took in protein before you work out. And the anabolic effects of protein last somewhere around 4 to 5 hours, somewhere in there, assuming it's in a whole meal. Like if you take a whey protein shake, it's a very fast-acting protein, and that's going to oxidize quickly, and that will not last. But assuming you're eating like a steak with some potatoes or whatever, eggs with oatmeal, it will last over a period of 4 to 5 hours. That means that, let's say you're going to take in a meal 2 hours before your workout, do an hour workout, then you'd have roughly a 2 hour window. And again, it's not just a fall off, it's not a clear cut, before you really start to need protein to keep your anabolism spike up. With all that said,
that's good. And so, listen, super smart, and I'm hanging with you, but there's just a difference in what the science will show and what the studies will show, which then goes to show that science should be universal, but it's not in the nutrition world. And so if you are going to, if you're going to take this very seriously, which I hope that you are, number one, we just have to keep it simple, and timing doesn't really matter. Total matters. Like if we're talking about the overwhelming vast majority of your concentration should be on total grams of protein. And then you can hear Dr. Schofield here saying things that are backed up, but also how confusing was that? Like,
so confusing.
Literally, I'm struggling to stay with it, and somebody that studies, nutrition an hour a day, every day. So just wanting to show you the contrast here and wanting you to be a champion of your own education and not take things verbatim that you see on the internet. Ask good questions, use videos, use Dr. Schofield, use Dr. Galpin, use us here. I'm not claiming to be superior or by any means. I just want to be more simple. I just want to synthesize things and bring it back to you, okay? Real quickly before we go out, Trisha, we're going to go over the top 9 protein sources and why.
Yes.
We're going to do that really quickly. Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
I've been looking forward to this part.
Okay. So before we go into this, when you think about your top protein sources, what do you think most people are thinking about? Do you think they have it right? Do you think they have it wrong? Is it obvious? Is it not so obvious?
I don't think people maybe realize how many. I think it's always like chicken, like they know they should use chicken, like eggs. I feel like there's always like a question mark. Like, so we want people to feel confident, because I know for the longest time I wasn't eating beef because I listened to some people on social media that told me it was bad for me, but it's actually one of the top protein sources and it's delicious. Yeah. So I think let's set the record straight, Devin.
Okay, we're going to do that. And we're going to do that we're going to set the record straight on the top 10 nutrition sources based on the following criteria. Number 1, all 9 essential amino acids, or the completeness of the protein. Number 2 is that bioavailability, the PDCAAS, okay, the protein digestibility. What was it again? The protein digestibility corrective amino acid score. I always screw that one up. Okay, the bioavailability of the protein really, really matters. And then the nutrient density. So when we talk about the top protein sources and why, it's those 3 things. All 9 essential amino acids, bioavailability, and nutrient density. Make sense? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna go in a top 9 list. And listen, you can mix and match these however your little heart desires. I'm not going to say one is superior to another. I put these in order of how I would use them. Mm-hmm. I didn't put these in order of how you should use them because I don't want to discriminate animal protein versus plant protein. Oftentimes plant protein gets a bad rap because people say that there's not complete essentially all 9 essential amino acids in plant protein, and they kind of blanket that statement, which is true for most but not for all. And there's a handful in here that are really going to make the list. So number 1 and 2 for me are interchangeable. My 2 main sources of protein. Number 1 is whey protein or casein protein. because of the absorption rate and because of the leucine for muscle protein synthesis, going back to segment 1 that we talked about. And if you're a plant person, throw soy in there. Okay, soy protein for non-animal people works for me. Number 2 is eggs. All right, the choline, the fat for brain health really goes a long way. Eggs are a staple of my diet. Number 3, fish. Again, omega-3 for heart health especially. Number 4 and 5 are both for me interchangeable. I like them for different reasons. Poultry, chicken, turkey. You got B vitamins in there that are really high in the red meat category. I'm a big fan, and probably more so of red meat than poultry. But elk, bison, venison, the iron, the zinc, the creatine, and also, I don't know. There's zero scientific backing around this, but when I look at a wimpy chicken that can't fly, and then I look at like a elk that runs through the forest is like the best athlete in the forest. I don't know. If people say you are what you eat all the time, so I don't.
You're gonna choose to be the elk.
I'm gonna choose to be the best athlete in the forest rather than the wimpy chicken that can't even fly over a chicken wire fence in a farm and gets eaten all the time by the coyotes and stuff. Cottage cheese, it's a source of casein protein. Calcium also really helps bone health. Here for all my plant people, tofu. Okay, you got a few plant-based proteins, like I said, that have complete amino acid profiles. Tofu is one of them. It's a staple in the Japanese diet, especially. Then you have number 8, Greek yogurt. Yes, Greek yogurt is complete. And then number 9, lentils by themselves are not a complete protein. This is why I have 9, not 10. But then if you add rice together with lentils and rice, this makes a complete protein for all my plant people out there. So there's a list of 9 top protein sources and a little bit of the reasons why. Trisha, what are your favorite?
Yeah, so I have it written out here right now. So I eat a lot of eggs. I love an egg, hard-boiled egg, scrambled egg. I don't discriminate how I eat my eggs. I love an egg. I also, little quick tip, Jordan, he's sitting behind the switchboard. He saw me the other day in the kitchen at HQ. I put a scoop of our vanilla protein powder in my Greek yogurt. It is so delicious if you put it in the fridge for like 20 minutes after you mix it together. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like a frosting. It's so good, high in protein. So those are like 2. So I hit whey, I hit Greek yogurt, I hit eggs, chicken. I love chicken, ground turkey, and then beef. Those 6 are like in rotation during my week. I also have my kids on board with all of those things. So I'm making sure that they understand the importance of protein, why mommy eats protein. And my husband also, we're big protein fans, big advocates of protein, and making sure we're getting the right protein in our diets every day.
Yes, and that is why we at Burn Nutrition are also big advocates of protein. Again, if you didn't hear me earlier, hear me now, because these are going to run out. I don't know if you've tried the cookies and cream whey protein yet, but there's only 60 of these on the online store. And while you're there, if you like my shirt, the new Burn Bootcamp shirt, let them get a back view of it. Let me get a back view. How's that look?
Sick.
Are we good? Okay. All right, the back view, you got to pick this one up while you're there on the e-com shop. And remember, that's your location store. So when you go and you shop online with us, you're actually supporting your local gym. Cookies and cream is bomb. Get your protein game up easily. I got 1 in the morning, 1 in the night, every single day. I mix it with a little almond butter just to get that healthy fat in there to create slow digestion and maximize my muscle gains. And then, you look good, you play good. So you get your protein, you get your Burn Active, and there we go. All right, everybody. That's it for today. Thank you for being here. Please go to, if you're not watching this on YouTube, we have a brand new Burn Bootcamp podcast YouTube page and a brand new Burn Bootcamp podcast Instagram. And I want you guys to follow both of those because we are ramping up our content on both of these channels. And I'm just so excited about what this is doing in your life. And if you have any feedback, leave it in the reviews, leave it in the comment section. DM me on Instagram, Devin.Klein, and Trisha Pena on IG as well. We're going to take you out and end it like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.